This is Criterion B, the practical exploration of the performance. For Criterion B, I carefully chose to research a specific convention, and that was miming with props through the body in order to create actions through minimal movement. So my step one was learning about the origins of Rakugo and watching traditional Rakugo storytellers. Here are some pictures of the process that I cut from some videos and some pictures that I just found while researching. This shows the master and the trainee, the stage with this zabuton, and the performer actually putting on the comedic show. The actual perfection of the performance came with a lot of challenges, but I chose to mime specific things to the cloth. You can see the steps I took in order to practice my tradition. I noticed that the seating position makes the performer rely on specific gestures or small gestures. Sitting also changed the energy of the performance. It makes the storyteller seem grounded and respectful while keeping focus on the story. The fan and cloth were used to represent all sorts of props. I found that these simple items held a lot of storytelling power. So, this is my exploration process. My next step was practicing my posture. The performer sits in the sides position with their legs folded under them on a cushion called a zabuton, as you can see. When I first tried this, I found it very difficult to stay balanced and relaxed. I tended to go right into the performance. I realized how difficult it was to stay seated in the sides position for a long time. I learned that I needed to stretch and take my time and make myself able to balance and stay on the zabuton without falling or being in pain. I would start out by doing 2 minutes of stretching. Then I would get back on the zabuton and stay for a minute more each day, while doing hand gestures with the props. Once I felt stable, I started to focus on movement control. Because Rakugo limits large body movements, I learned that every gesture from the waist up needed to be clear. I practiced keeping my elbows close to my body and using precise motions with my hands to create an illusion of different movements. For example, when I acted like I was eating noodles with the fan, I practiced making the sharp movements from coming up with the noodles from the bowl to my mouth and making it look realistic by bending my head and moving my arm in the way I would normally when I was eating actual noodles with chopsticks. I repeated these small actions many times until the movement started to feel natural and believable. Through this process, I treated each element as a separate layer of the process. I worked on individuality before putting them together. Breaking down the technique this way showed me that Rakugo isn't about doing less, it's about being more precise and international with every movement. Next is the demonstration. So, a typical day for me when learning how to do my tradition is I would touch my toes, and sit and do more stretches, but now that I have done this over a course of time, I feel confident that I can do this without being in pain and staying balanced. So what I do is I would get on the zabuton and place my legs underneath my thighs into the correct posture and position, aligned. Now I'm going to be moving into the convention part of this. This is the fan I have been using. And what I would do with this fan is I would act like I'm using this with miming chopsticks or using it to mime a pen. So first I'm going to be miming it with chopsticks. So first I take my bowl. Posture's still good. Now. That was my chopstick timing. And now I'm going to act like I'm writing the story with pen. Now I'm done with the fan. So at this point, it probably would be pretty painful to be staying in this position, but I feel pretty comfortable with this right now, and I I'm going to move on using the cloth. So I practice using this as a notebook. Posture's still good. Right in my notebook. Okay. And then my last thing I mimed was a wallet. So I'd fold it in half and open it like a wallet. If I'm getting cash out of it, still in a good position on the Zabuton. There we go. So concluding section B, I found it hard to make the props clear to the audience. Without standing or moving, I had to make sure that I made every gesture matter. Through this practice, I developed better control over small movements and became more confident while seated. I also became more creative with using props and learned to focus with precision and patience. This process helped me appreciate how powerful simplicity can be in Rakugo.